Hello, this is Mike Nogle, and this is my final project for educational leadership. I've entitled it Race, Leadership, and Links to Education. As far as how I found my research, I first tried many of the different sources that were listed for this project. I found that it wasn't too helpful because many of those sites required a paid membership, or else you had to have an access code to actually get to the articles. And then trying to use other search options, I found it difficult to get education-specific research for this area. But this course is kind of takes a liberal studies approach to leadership and education, and so I've decided to go along with that, and so I've searched for other research papers, and will tie them to education specifically. The first research paper that I found is entitled Race and Leadership: Implications for Leaders of Color and Leadership Development Programs Addressing Issues of Diversity. And you can see the web address where I was able to get this. It is from an organization called the Research Center for Leadership and Action, part of NYU Wagner. And this was a really interesting paper. What it goes about saying is that race shapes psychological makeup, and this becomes part of collective identities for larger social structures. Um, it was interesting too because it also went into some of the obstacles that leaders of race have, and it was kind of disheartening to find out that even people who have gone through education, have proven themselves, and who have gotten themselves into positions of leadership, still race can be an issue. It can actually a lot many times the constituents view the leader as illegitimate, and so I mean I guess you can see that in part of popular or modern politics as well, and so it goes through some of those obstacles, but it also goes through some other things about a leader who is a minority, and some of the things that they have going for them that ties directly into what we've learned this semester. One thing is that for a person to have gotten to this level and being a person of race, they will have had a lot of experience, and they will have overcome a lot. So they are very likely to have developed a good sense of empathy. They're going to care more about their constituents, and also we've learned about how important diversity is in an organization, especially when it comes to innovation and being able to find different ways to address new problems. And these leaders can be a focal point, and they can actually be celebrated as being very important to this. The next research paper that I found um, is called Leadership and Race. And this goes into a different area of race, and all of this that we're talking about so far are things that we need to think about as teachers. Now this one really brings us into understanding our students, understanding what kind of obstacles that they have to overcome, and understanding some of their behavior. And we'll see a little bit later in the presentation that it really does tie into what we learn about teaching with ESOL in mind. So it goes into something called structural racism, which I think is very important to understand. And they say that it is a system of social structures that produces cumulative, durable, race-based inequalities. I think that the most profound instance of this that is difficult to argue is the situation of the African Americans. We brought them to America to be free labor, and they were very harshly, and from that, they were thrown into situations where they were culturally and linguistically stunted. They were not given educations. They were not given rights. And then the one interesting thing about this article is it also went into like more recent examples that kind of make it that bring it more up to date and help us to realize that not only do we know that when the slaves were free, they did not get what they were promised, which was land and ways to be able to work that land, which would have given them homes, which would have given them livelihoods. But many of them ended up working in the same areas and with the same farmers as before. And a lot of times, what happened was that now instead of and that the farmer now had these people at a low wage. He did not have to pay for their room and board, and so in many situations, their quality of life actually lowered after that. A lot of people don't understand that, and then a lot of people also think of this as something so far in the past that it's time to just get over it, and they don't understand why it's still like that, why there still seems to be an entrenchment of poverty. But even when these people moved to the big cities trying to escape this, they generally got segregated, forced into neighborhoods where their property values were low, which because of how our tax structure is based in the states, that really goes into affecting their quality of education. And now going into that more, the example that they gave was the GI Bill. And the GI Bill gave more access to white soldiers to buy homes and create wealth. And so this transferred to the white soldiers more of an access to better schools because of the property tax issue. Where they lived, there was also better health care, better access to healthy food, and also a safer living environment, a better environment for their kids to be able to grow up and be able to go to good schools. The third one that I studied is called inequality regimes, and they say that this exists at all organizations, which would include schools. And what it is a systematic disparity between participants in power and control over goals, resources, and outcomes, and workplace decisions and opportunities for promotion. Now, you can take these words and you can apply them to situations for our students in school. Which students are going to perform well enough to be, for example, nominated to be in an honor society? Which ones are going to do well and be nominated to have some other honor? And this is also linked to inequality in the surrounding society. And so basically, it kind of shows that if there's inequality around the school, then it's most likely going to exist in the school as well. And that's that brings me to back to the book, and then now we're talking about the psychodynamic approach. And what it talks about is the characteristics of personality, and that is deeply ingrained and is difficult to adjust. So not also do we have these entrenched societal problems, but it's difficult to adjust these, especially if they're not treated fairly at the age that they're gaining their skills to become leaders, to be able to get out and get that good job as we're preparing them for their futures. So behavior results not only from the actions and their responses to actions as we see them in the class, but there are also unconscious. There's also things happening in the unconscious that come from prior experiences. You can see how a student who is was raised in a very stable household has a lot less of this to deal with than someone who was raised in a high crime area and perhaps even their family was involved in this kind of situation. And so this brings me to my experience studying ESOL. And it's been an enlightening experience to get through these classes. And one thing that we've learned about is that many minorities live in unique social situations, and they do not adapt well to traditional educational structures. Now, this does not matter if they're a minority in the school, say 10% of them are from this kind of culture, or if it's 90% of them are from this kind of culture. What it is the traditional structure of schools, our state standards, our national standards. They're all tied to an educational standard, which these types of students have a difficult time to adapt to, and so these students, they need to be treated much like we would treat an ESOL student. They need to be able to develop higher order thought processes, and they need to be able to have academic levels English skills in order to succeed. And so there's an enculturation process that they go through. And so education needs to be restructured to embrace the student's culture and to address modes of learning that are more productive for the student. And there are proven ways through ESOL and other ways that we know that these students respond better to. After these conditions are met, the student is much more likely to excel in school and develop leadership skills which they need for future success. And now when we get down to talking about success for all students right now are going through a time when they're all having difficulty adjusting to and getting a lot out of traditional education. And so MIT and yeah, or instructional technology and what we've learned through ESOL, they really tie together, and it was really an eye opener to see how much this happens. Both call for project-based learning, and they're very focused on collaboration. These types of students, if they're collaborating and talking to other students a lot, well, they're going to learn more. They're going to get to their academic level English up. They're going to be enculturated more quickly. They have a higher chance for success. Both of these are dependent on using visually stimulating content to engage students. That's one thing these students have always needed is an extra way to be engaged in the content, and we're finding that that is the way that we need to address all of our students, not just the minority students. And then the strategies to best help ESL students can be incorporated into instructional technology rich teaching, especially if we're using some other good tools like backwards design and new approaches to the curriculum. So I think that there's definitely a way that these issues can be addressed, should be addressed, and it's enlightening to learn um, through liberal studies and the MIT program and the ESL OL courses that I have taken, that all the answers seem to all be meshing together, and they can all be tackled. But now is time that we really need to start thinking about adjusting curriculum, and also the time that we need to be thinking about very good innovative ways to use technology in our teaching. Beyond this, we do have to be culturally sensitive. We have to include their culture in our teaching. There are other ESOL tactics that need to be included, and these tactics actually help the regular students, the grade level students as well, because it enriches their experience. Okay, well, thank you for listening to my presentation, and um, and I hope you enjoyed it.